What is up, homies? My name is Felix and I'm here back again with another video for you guys today. And in this one, this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I'm not going to be actually inside of LMMS or FL Studio today. This is a video idea that I actually saw in the comments of one of my videos. Somebody said that I should make a video where I kind of go over some of the features that I would like to see in LMMS. So basically that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be talking about the top things that LMMS needs to add to their program. And before I start this video, I want to preface it by saying that I don't want this to be a video where I'm just like, you know, complaining about everything in LMMS. It's not that type of video. It's just kind of a suggestions video, I guess, on features that I would love to see and features that I think would make the program a lot better, a lot easier to use, and bring in, you know, a lot more users, honestly. But I am aware that LMMS obviously isn't one of those programs that has like a full dev team working around the clock to come up with new features and stuff. I figure even if some of these things aren't really like plausible or easy to code or whatever, I don't really know how that whole world works. I figured I would still just, you know, share my suggestions with everybody. So yeah, before we get started, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud. Those will both be down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produced, my BeatStorm, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you want to. And now let's get into this video. So the first and probably one of the most important features that I think we need to see in LMMS is better sampling. So that means like a better way to chop samples, a better way to pitch samples up and down, all that stuff, the whole 9 yards. Also a way to be able to tell the key of certain samples like 808 samples or, you know, one-shot samples. That would be a super nice feature to have, because currently as it is, there's no way to figure out what note your 808 is actually playing, the original sample note, which can kind of be frustrating because that means it's really hard to actually tune your 808s on certain samples. So yeah, that's one thing that I think is really important. And before you guys head into the comments like talking about, oh, well, the audio file processor works just fine, blah, blah, blah. No, it does not. The audio file processor, I'm sorry to say it, but it's whack. All you can do is change the start time of your sample. You can't stretch your sample out to a different tempo. You can't change the pitch inside of there. You can barely do anything except for change the start time and the end time, and you might be able to change like the out and the in of the sample. I'm not even sure. I don't even think you can do that. So for those of you who have never used FL Studio before, inside of FL Studio, there's like a sample editor kind of thing, and basically you can adjust the pitch, you can adjust the tempo, you can adjust where your sample starts, you can adjust the out and the in of your sample, all basically inside of one little thing. And that's the kind of thing that I think LMMS needs, because currently as it is, there's no proper way to edit samples or anything like that. So if you want to sample using LMMS, what you have to do is you have to go into Audacity to actually change your sample, chop your sample, and do all that stuff. Also, before you guys tell me that you can put a pitch changer effect on your sound to change the pitch of it, I know, I'm aware that there are a few different pitch changer effects inside of the LMMS stock effects. However, they're horrible. You can't actually change by individual semitones. You'll change it by like some weird value of like 1.08392, and it's just completely inaccurate. And that makes it so your 808s will be slightly off key from the sample, which is just a big no-no. But yeah, like you might be able to change the pitch effectively and then tune your 808s to it. But however, it takes like a heck of a lot longer than it would if they just had a simple little knob for changing the pitch. That would be super nice, I think, and super helpful. So now the next thing that's probably honestly the biggest thing for me is that LMMS needs a better way to be able to play the audio from the song editor while you're working on the beat and bassline editor. Because as it is right now, doing that inside of LMMS is really terrible. Basically, if you play the sound inside of the song editor, you can't like hit the spacebar to play it over from the same point. Whereas in FL Studio, you can hit the spacebar like over and over again, and it'll keep playing from the same point that you clicked on inside of the song editor. And there's also a little button thing where you can switch from playing the pattern audio to the, you know, full song audio. And that's the kind of thing that I think LMMS needs, because then you could be playing your full song and listening to all the different tracks at once while working on a certain sound in the beat and bassline editor, which will be really helpful for once you split all of your sounds into different beat and bassline editors, because once you do that, you can't edit a certain sound in accordance to the other sounds that you have. You have to just kind of go by memory a little bit. So yeah, that's one thing that I think is super big for me, and that's just one of those simple little things that makes me not really want to use LMMS, because it's just so painstaking and it just throws off my rhythm a lot. So the next thing that I have here is that there should be an easy way to cut things that you have in the beat and bassline editor and paste them into other like sounds, which I have no idea why this isn't a thing. It's very strange to me, but what you have to do inside of LMMS is you have to copy and then paste and then go back to the original thing you copied and then do clear all notes, I'm pretty sure. And that's just a whole extra step that does not need to exist when you could just do cut and then paste if there was a cut option. But anyways, that brings me to my next point, which is that there should be an easy way to split all of your sounds into their own beat and bassline editors. And it also doesn't help that there's no cut option, because basically what you have to do for each and every sound is you have to do copy on the sound and now create a new beat and bassline editor and then paste that sound into there and then go back into the original beat and bassline editor and then do clear all notes on that sound, and then you have to repeat that for every single sound that you have in that beat, and it takes like a super long time and it's just super annoying to do, but that's like the only way that you can separate all your sounds in order to lay out the beat. In FL Studio, once you have a pattern made, you can just literally right click on this little bar on the side and click split by channel, and it'll split all of them into their own, beat and bassline editor, and literally it's just 2 clicks and it's perfect. Also, another thing that I think would be really cool to have inside of LMMS is a way to record sound from your microphone, or maybe from like an interface if you want to record electric guitar or something like that. That would be super awesome, and that would be a super great feature, and it would really make LMMS more of a complete DAW overall. Also, another little thing that I think would be a cool feature is adding a tempo tapper. So basically, if you don't know what a tempo tapper is, it's basically this little thing where you pull up this interface and then you click on like a little circle or something, and you click on it to the tempo, whatever tempo. Maybe you're trying to figure out the tempo of a song, or figure out the tempo of like a melody that you have in your head or something. Basically, it'll predict the approximate tempo for you. If they add a better way to sample in the future, I think this would be a really important feature to kind of include in there. Also, kind of going along with the theme of things that would be nice if they add a better way to sample is MP3 support. This is the weirdest thing to me, but I don't know why there's no MP3 support in LMMS. I guess most drum samples are usually WAV, and they're not really expecting people to be doing a whole lot of sampling. But every time that I download a sample or something, it's in MP3 format. And maybe for people who are using one-shots or something like that, you might run into this problem, because maybe that one-shot that you're trying to use is an MP3 file, and then LMMS just hits you with this, and then you just literally can't use the file. Also, since I've been talking a lot about throwing off your rhythm and things that you have to do in LMMS that just kind of take a lot of extra time and a lot of unnecessary work, one big thing is that there needs to be more shortcuts in LMMS. And I do know that there is a lot of shortcuts in the program actually, and there's certain things that I discovered that you can do in a little bit faster ways while I was actually researching some things for this video. But however, there is a lot of simple things that could use shortcuts that would make your whole workflow just a lot better and a lot faster. So I'm going to give just a couple examples of hotkeys or shortcuts that I think LMMS could use, and I'm going to be referencing the FL Studio version of these hotkeys. So if they were to add these, they might be actually different. They might use a different set of keys, and it might be different for Ableton or Logic or something like that, but I'm just going to be referencing the FL Studio version, and then I'm going to explain what they do and why they would be helpful. So one example is Control L for both the piano roll and assigning your sounds to a mixer. Basically, Control L inside of the piano roll in FL Studio will make each of the notes that you have, it'll make them instantly extend and go right up next to each other. And for some of you who use LMMS, you might be instantly thinking, oh, this would be perfect for 808s. It would be perfect especially for 808s, because when you do your 808s inside of LMMS, what you have to do is you have to specifically click and drag on the end of the 808 and drag it out to the start of the next 808. And again, one of those things that can just throw off your rhythm a little bit, and it would be super nice to just be Control L and everything is just perfect. And then basically Control L while you're in the beat and bassline editor will assign all of your sounds. If you have all the sounds selected, it'll assign them all to a mixer track, which is actually a super nice and convenient thing, and it'll make the mixer a lot easier to use for a lot of people. And currently as it is, there's a pretty easy way to add sounds into an individual mixer in LMMS. You just basically click on the little gear, and then there's a setting that says assign to a new mixer or something like that. And that's all well and good, and it's a pretty easy way to do that, but it would be nice to be able to do that for every single sound at once, and that would be super quick and super speedy and nice. Also, there's a lot of commands that would be really nice for the song editor. So basically in FL Studio, there's a really easy hotkey, and you just basically select everything that you have in your song editor, and then you hit Control B, and then it copies everything over. And this would be really nice for LMMS, because in the song editor, it's honestly not the easiest thing to navigate around in. It's pretty clunky. You kind of have to switch between the selection tool and then the pencil tool to do certain things, and that's just really annoying, I think. And it would be really nice to be able to just have a few different hotkeys that will just make your work a lot lot easier. Also, for when you're in the piano roll, it would be really nice to have Alt S and Alt R, and basically what Alt S does is it strums your chords. So basically in my How to Make Better Melodies video, I showed you guys how to kind of strum your chords to make them sound a lot cooler and a lot doper. And in FL Studio, you can just press Alt S and it'll instantly strum the chord for you. You don't have to manually drag them out. And then Alt R will randomize the velocities, which is kind of something that I showed you in that video as well, on how you can, you know, click on the velocities below. But however, if we had Alt R, it would just instantly do that for you, and once again, you don't have to do it manually. So my next thing is kind of going off of one of the points that I just made about the song editor, and it would be really nice to have better navigation inside of the song editor. So basically, as it is in the song editor right now, there's a couple different glaring problems that I see. Having to switch back and forth between the like selection tool and the pencil tool. So basically the pencil tool is only used for like kind of clicking stuff in, and then the selection tool is only used for like copying stuff over. So basically you can't click stuff in while you're on the selection tool, and that's really annoying because it would be really nice to be able to just click stuff in and also select stuff at the same time. But for whatever reason you can't do that, and I found that really annoying. And then also, I could be wrong about this one, but I don't think there's a way to mass delete sections that you've created inside the song editor. I think the fastest way to do it is by clicking on the selection tool and then hovering over the section you want to delete and then clicking the middle mouse button. But once again, you have to switch back and forth between the selection tool and the pencil tool, and that's just a really annoying thing to do. Also, I do think it's about time that LMS just added better automations in general. The whole automation system is a little bit weird. Like for example, if you want to automate anything, what you have to do is you have to open up an automation track, and then you have to like click and drag the parameter that you want inside of the automation track, and then you have to find the specific area in the song where you want to edit the automation. Also, once you're in the global automation thing, there's no way to actually put a point directly beneath another point, which I find really, really weird, and that's one of those things where you have to like put your snap to grid on like 1/192 to like get it really close, but then it still sounds a little bit weird, and it's just a really kind of messed up thing, and it takes a lot more effort than it's really worth. Just a whole extra process that just needs to be cleaner, needs to be fixed up a little bit so it's easier to use and everybody can kind of navigate their way through it a lot easier. But yeah, so that's pretty much gonna do it for me. These are all my like top things that I would want to see inside the program. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions, things that you want to see added to LMMS. And once again, to reiterate, I'm totally not knocking the program at all. I started off using LMMS for, you know, like 7 or 8 months before I actually moved on to the FL demo, and then finally the full version of FL Studio. And LMMS will still always be, in my opinion, the best free beat making program for beginners out there. It's such a great program, it's such a great tool for people to use, and which is why I love still making videos on it, because I love seeing every day you guys being like, yo, you taught me how to make my first beat, and that's just super awesome to me because I remember making my first beat and, you know, getting super interested in making beats and just kind of falling in love with the whole making music, making beats and everything, and it's just super cool to kind of share the love with everybody a little bit. Just remember that making music is always up here. It's not what you have on the screen. It doesn't matter what your plugins are, it doesn't matter what DAW you use. It's all about you and how creative you can be, what you can come up with the tools that you have at hand. Because honestly, a lot of people think like, oh, you need a super fancy DAW, you need like Omnisphere, Nexus, and all these other, you know, fancy schmancy plugins. But there's a lot of people out there who have made hits using free DAWs, who have made hits using, you know, mobile phone programs, who have made hits using like the Notes app on their phone. Literally, it's all just about you and what you can do with the tools that you're given. So yeah, always remember that little piece of advice. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with a playlist of songs I've produced, my beat store, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you want to, and I will see you guys next time.
Let's go. I can't let these demons in my head. Got these niggas hating, they upset. Yeah, walking in this bitch, I keep my tag.